There you are, Chad.
Hello. Can you see me?
No,
Oh,
now I can see you. There you
whoa.
go.
This beard's looking weird poking out of there, eh?
Ye- So, how'd you like the Chicago? How'd your wife like the Chicago thing?
One moment. Gotta get something to drink here. How did my wife like the Chicago meetup? Well, I think she liked it a lot. Um, so we we got to we agreed that I would just spend Tuesday by myself, um, meeting up with everybody. She had our nephew's birthday party and stuff in Indiana to be at, and so she's like, "Oh, you just go hang out with those people like all day Tuesday because that sounds really nice for you." Um, and so I got there. Uh, I got there Tuesday morning, like 9:15 ish. Met Parker and ran into Sam right away, and Sam wanted a hug, so I gave Sam a hug. And I got some man movies here.
Hey, Dominic.
Whoa.
I'm trying to lose weight. I am down to 207 pounds, which is better than usual.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I've cut out sugared like soda. I only drink diet soda. Um, I I want to get down to 180.
Hey, man, one day at a time.
I almost died
Really?
in Salt Lake Beach. Well, kind of, not really, but I did get caught in some quicksand on
Really?
Salt Lake Beach. Yeah.
With like your car?
No, I was walking on the beach and my dog went somewhere and I followed her and I went through the sand into quicksand and I started sinking. And knowing what to do with quicksand, I became horizontal very quickly and got myself out. But uh, I guess I weigh more than most of the people who had walked in that same area, and so there was quicksand underneath a little bit, and then I don't know how deep the quicksand went, but I flew out west a couple of weeks ago. Had a layover in Salt Lake, and it looked amazing flying in. Honestly, the Great Salt Lake was absolutely beautiful. I
Really?
went and I watched the Halamabrin refuses to turn on his video, but he is here with us, and his mic is off. There
There
his
he
video.
is.
Let me
Howdy.
see. There we go. That's better.
Should I do this? Maybe make it a little better.
Uh, no, that did not make it any better.
It's weird. Why won't it? Why won't it do the thing?
I don't know.
Weird.
It might be because it might be because it's using your web browser. Yeah.
The beard coming out from under is kind of freaking me out.
It is, man. How do you think I feel?
Is the beard new? It's not new, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like at least since November.
Okay. Does it always stick out under your thing,
No,
or do you usually tuck it in?
no, I've not had an opportunity really to uh, to wear the mask with the beard.
So for the very short amount of time when I stopped trimming my beard completely, I actually started tying it up and so that it wasn't all over the place.
I don't know. I think this looks pretty cool. I'm just putting it out there. See, I'm just putting it out there.
You have to paint it blue though.
So, wow, quicksand! Holy crap, man! So, yeah, no, my wife we really enjoyed it, man. We just to finish that real quick. So, first of all, it was wonderful meeting you and spending time with you and meeting everybody else. But we had my wife did finally get to meet everybody at dinner, and it was wonderful. Hank and my wife and I sat and talked around dinner for like an hour, and it was pretty great. It was cool meeting him. I never really listened to anything that he's ever done before, so it was nice. I don't know. It was just really cool.
You reminded me I have to email Sam's dad because I want to have him on my channel.
Is that Hank?
No, Hank is not Sam's dad. Sam's dad was sitting across the table from me and PVK was kind of sitting in the middle of the crosstalk, and the two of us were debating things, and PVK was just sitting there listening.
That's great, man. No, it was a wonderful experience. There's a lot to talk about on that whole experience, but no, it was wonderful. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I just got back yesterday, so
Wow.
yeah, last night. It was 3 weeks that I spent driving out there and driving back, and I met a bunch of people, and I did a lot of thinking, and I have a bunch of ideas. One of which I kind of want to run past you, Chad.
Okay.
So I'm thinking of calling it Project Jethro. And like I brought up before, and I keep on bringing up, and I'm going to keep on bringing up until everybody's talking about Jethro in this little corner of the internet. Jethro is Moses's father-in-law. And what he said to Moses is, you can't just lead everybody yourself. You need to have people who are leaders of tens and leaders of thousands underneath you, right? And they can bring the bigger problems up to you, and like hierarchy, right? Yeah. So I think we need that. And my idea was that the smallest unit of hierarchy is the husband and wife, not the individual. And so my idea is for Project Jethro is to have conversations with married couples, not just individuals, and possibly to make some sort of community council of like families, because that's a higher hierarchical structure than the individual. Thoughts?
So, like topics on what?
I don't know. But I thought so. My whole problem with this whole corner of the internet and all of my projects has been, I think we're too disconnected. We're not unified enough, and that's part of the reason why I have Post Platonic, my podcast which Chad hosted, and anybody in this corner of the internet is welcome to come and host. Hey, Antonio, I am going to send you a link, Antonio, and you are welcome to join us as soon as I figure out where your thing is. There you are. Okay. Trying to make us more cohesive, and that's why that's part of the reason I did the road trip, and that's part of the reason I met up with people, and that's part of the reason I go to Estuary, and you eat your sandwich. And so pretty much all of the things that I was thinking of is how to bring this community together. And I thought, and my first thought for Project Jethro was, well, the unit above the individual that's kind of indivisible in a community is the married couple, right? So if we make our community, and I realize this kind of excludes me, but like make our community leadership, right? So you have individuals, and the next level of hierarchy is the family.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to be said about it. I mean, first thing that comes to mind is the phrase "keep it simple." So, man, so you're talking on a particular project, correct?
Well, okay, I have lots of goals, like larger goals, but the things I was thinking of included Project Jethro, which is the idea that we need hierarchy and we need larger small groups, right? So instead of it just being individual and this corner, hey, Graham, you are more than welcome to join us. I am going to send you a link if you want to join the chat. I just sent it to you. So if we're going to have larger groups, like in the Bible, it says like the next group is tens, right? So leaders of tens, but like that's not going to happen. So I thought, well, what's the smallest next grouping beyond individual? And that's the family. And I think the family is a much better unit of membership for a structure than individuals. I don't want us to be atomized individuals.
Well,
and Professor Palamabran has thoughts he hasn't shared yet.
Well, I don't know. That's kind of like you were saying earlier, right? You're proposing a project or a model that in some ways would exclude yourself, right? And I'm in the same category, so I do wonder about the role of single folk in such a community model. And I don't know. Are you proposing like a Benedict option sort of thing?
Well, okay, so we have this corner of the internet, which we have no idea where the edges of are. And we want to actually, like, I think we do have some communal goals, and we would like to work together as a community. Like, for example, I would love to see more matchmaking in our community. Like, so far we have 1.5 couples and a baby on the way, which is beautiful. But but I do want to see like more of community structure. And my idea was that couples at least should, like, if somebody is speaking for a couple, right? And especially if they have families, like they should have more of a voice than atomized individuals in a categoric way. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So actually, yeah, I think I kind of see where you're going here, because you're like, even when you said matchmaking, right? I assume you don't mean specifically only people on the server, right? Like you're talking about people on the server pulling in various connections. Like basically they're like little roots or tendrils that go from this online space out into our physical daily lives, right?
And this little corner, I don't think is limited to the Bridges of Meaning server.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are people on Vervaeke's server and Pajot's server who've never been on Bridges of Meaning that I've never see. Antonio brought his girlfriend to the Chicago meetup. But yeah, I mean, there are people who are definitely, I would say, part of this little corner of the internet who are not actually on the Bridges of Meaning server at all.
Well, I don't know. I think like you're gonna have a lot of different. Here's what I would, to move towards something that you want to do with this. I might, if I were to be doing it, I might invite like a specific interview with and ask people if they want to do that. Probably, most likely, it's not going to happen based on the experience I've heard of. The wives aren't really all that interested, and it is primarily wives, because
although there are some husbands involved,
but primarily wives, and so I would say, yeah, I mean, you can make the invites, but at the end of the day, what I think this little corner of the internet hopefully becomes is more of this corner, this little corner of the culture. Mm-hmm. And it's not about being on these cameras. It's about going to the meetups, and it's about meeting people and spending time and doing those different things. So I mean, yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to do what you're talking about, but I think the more simple that you keep it, probably the better. I'm sure Mr. Grimm,
General tonight, baby.
General Griswold Grimm of the something has something to say about this.
Absolutely. I think what you're being tasked, Jacob, with uniting the tribes, and to do so, you need a goal. And I have posited a goal to the corner, and that is the creation of the God mask. It's like a mental circumcision of childhood. We create to offer the youth. Like, okay, look, you believed a bunch of bullshit up till now, but you're a man, so here's the truth as far as we can tell. Plop, and we put it on their faces and say, okay, now help us hold this shit together.
I have no clue what you just said.
He's talking about that Campbell thing, Joseph Campbell idea.
Who's this fellow?
Palamabran. He's an academic. He's a professor.
It's true.
So Professor what I should call you?
Palamabran, or sometimes people just say Pala, which is perfectly acceptable.
I just call him Professor.
Can I get away with Pal? No,
sure.
Okay, hey, all right, hey, pal. I'll be your buddy. You can be my pal. Did you make any sense of the things that just came out of my mouth that Jacob was confused by?
Maybe a third of it. I don't know.
Okay, let me take another pass. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in several religious traditions, a child will reach a certain age, and then you take him aside and do something terrible to him.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then make him sing about it afterwards.
Yeah.
To reinforce the tradition. I propose that, like this corner of the internet, come up with a cerebral.
So a rite of passage.
Oh, okay.
A reality frame with which we circumcise the minds of the youths to clue them into the reality they're actually facing, regardless of the sheltered pasts and misbeliefs they might have at the moment. But yes, like a rite of passage.
And that's it. Yeah, that's where the Joseph Campbell came in, right? Because I've heard him talk
about
it's the guy. Events,
like, he has to fight with the guy in the mask, and then the guy lets him win, and then sticks the mask on him.
We have a guy with a mask. Yeah.
So I'm like, I'd like to see this corner come up with the God mask that, like, once we let him win, this is all right. Here's your frame, boy. What do you got? You're one of us now. I think, like, if the community had a project that they could get behind and that was good enough, that would see what we're capable of growing together, rather than saying, all right, we need to set this up this way, see what grows from, like, belief in, from a single goal, what the community can grow, and then see what you have, rather than try and set something up the way you were talking, Mr. Featherecci.
Well, first of all, the problem becomes without some sort of hierarchy or leadership already, how are you going to choose the goal?
That I kick to Discord internals. Like, the ship that you build to point toward a goal is your channel, or your, like, the public surfacing.
Okay, but how do we pick our leaders? Who has the most views?
No,
Like,
no. Every channel is their own ship. You're your own ship. Chad's his own ship. He's the hub. I'm my own ship. We're a flotilla of attention.
So
we have our own crews.
Right. Okay. So in Project Jethro terms, right, the individuals are everybody, and the leaders of tens and hundreds are people who have created a channel, and in having channels, you create some sort of hierarchy up to Moses.
Well, you run your ship how you want to run your ship. I'll run my ship how I want to run my ship. But, like, that we wield like an oracle of attention with the channel, of however big of size and however influential reach, is like our little boats, and, like, all the captains get together and say, and then go back to their ships and do their thing, and
so
recurses, like.
I proposed an idea to Paul Vanderklay, which I think somewhat works in a similar way, which is we could have a 24/7 streaming channel that people would simultaneously, like, you keep your own channel, but it would also be on the 24-hour channel, so people could just, like, go on the channel and there's somebody there.
Yeah, like the way Peterson turned his lectures into a radio station on YouTube.
Yeah. So, like, becoming a kind of radio station, television station, but for the internet. Well, and that's actually why I'm having this live stream, and I've been doing these just chatting streams where I just invite anybody to come on. Like, I would like to see a 24/7 just chatting stream like this for our community. And yeah, you're going to need to curate it to some extent, especially as it grows larger. But I can have 10 people on this stream.
All right, that's kind of two different dreams. Let's take your first one and see what the other people have to say.
So, first of all, the Randos United channel was initially supposed to, like, that idea was supposed to kind of, was kind of the genesis of all these kinds of ideas, where exactly what you're talking about, where people would be kind of contributing to that particular channel. That's why if I do things, I try to utilize that channel and not mine. But the other thing is there's that, I think there's run the risk of kind of too much boring shit, and it just would not be interesting. So there already is a 24-hour stream of things to watch all the time, and that's what's kind of nice. The other thing is you're talking about a hierarchy, or who is the leader. Well, to me, clearly the leader is a principle of a willingness to put some skin in the game and just join the game. That, to me, it seems to be the leader of this this whatever this is that we're doing. And the more that happens, kind of like the more stuff does come to the surface. Like we're kind of getting, the hierarchy gets shaped by people's attention. And this is, it's kind of cool. Like, and what I like about it, like, I'm not competing with anybody. I just have ideas and I throw them up on the screen, and I get some views and not. And then, like, Grizz here, he might be competing. I don't know, but either way, he's putting stuff out there and people are attending to it because they like it. And then, but this is happening all over the place. So to me, it's too messy to be a leader. There is no leader. There's a principal that I think is leading. And that is something I think should be most attended to. And then at the end of the day, all of this, in my opinion, is about getting off the screens anyways and spending time in the real world with each other, whether it's people that we meet on here or other people that we find in our own communities through like the estuary projects and things like this. Excuse me.
Well, that's definitely Paul's whole idea of estuary is taking it offline, which I think is a beautiful idea. But at the same time, I would like to see more, like that's why the post-Platonic thing was, if we even have like a song, even if it's just like one song that everybody listens to every week, there's one song everybody in this corner of the internet listens to, right? In some way we're coming together, and it's creating a sort of, I don't know, something to come together around. And that, more than anything, is what I've been thinking of. Is, yeah, it's really nice to try to get things off. I mean, I drive almost 2 hours to go to the estuary, but
I need to hear from Pal now, my Professor Pal.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll say I'm just in a different place because I'm not a content creator yet. Who knows? I also have I think I'm more geographically isolated than a lot of folks on the server. Like I've never met anybody in real life. I mean, from BOM, of course. So that's why I was tempted to go to the Thunder Bay event. I'm not sure if I can swing it, but one thing I just realized I can do is to push myself into things like this a little bit more. Just to get a little more skin in the game, so to speak, even if that is just like showing this right here. Participating more than just, I've gotten so used to the text chat, but you don't really become as much of a personality that way, or you don't really, I think people just don't get as clear of an idea of who you are. You're just you're just a few jokes and gifs a day, maybe every now and then a clever comment and a silly picture.
We encourage all levels of participation.
Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. What I want is, and the reason why I'm not just having a chat on my Discord server or in a room, why this is going out on Twitch and YouTube, and actually people do watch even my just chatting streams, which is ridiculous, but to allow people to lurk. You should not have to necessarily, if we have something like, for example, the Post-Platonic podcast I keep on talking about, right? Where, okay, everybody listens to 5 songs and we all have something to talk to each other about, and it's perfectly fine if you just listen to it, right?
You got a water cooler full of Kool-Aid.
What?
You got this corner Post-Platonic batch of Kool-Aid, and you're passing it off. It's like, hey, this should be our water cooler, yo.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I want a water cooler, and I want the water to at least have some lemon in it.
Yeah. Well, there's more people who are lurkers than people who are creators in this little corner.
And that's okay.
Right. Well, that just again that tells me for me, well, I just have my role, and I just try to. I try to make it as simple as possible because it's really easy. Like everything I do is on my phone. So, and if you want to do stuff, I encourage you to do it. I mean, that you don't have to be good at this. Nobody's really good at this. We're just kind of like shooting the shit and sharing ideas, maybe laughs and thinking out loud. And
so that was part of the thing with the channel idea that I had, the 24/7 channel. If we were pooling our resources, we could have higher quality stuff than just me being my own tech guy and you being your own tech guy and Grizz being his own tech guy, and Pal hasn't even started a channel yet. It's any day now. He's gonna have to start talking about poetry. What?
You're gonna pay somebody to do this?
I actually think ultimately we might need to pay, and I think there is enough money in the community to support something like that. I mean, I'm already like, this setup cost me almost $2,000.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
like the subscriptions and like and frankly, I mean, I spent with my trips, like I've spent a
How
lot
have you been
of
investing
money.
your talent? You're supposed to be getting a 10 times return on your talent that you were given, from what I understand, the contract you're under. Is that correct?
I have not received anything back monetarily.
No, I mean
I've received.
biblically, sir.
Oh. So I have received tons and tons of meaning, and I actually, when I was at the Salt Lake, I think I had a calling. Yeah.
Well, I'm hearing to you about expenses, and so I'm wanting to
Yeah.
see the return on your talents. Biblically, sir.
Oh,
Biblically.
talents, as in the New Testament talents. Okay.
Yeah.
Um.
It's one of the parables from your favorite guy.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a bunch of friends that I didn't have before. That's worth more than any of the money I spent on it.
See, I'm on board. It's like you're discovering the concept of lobster monkeys. These low years after I've been spouting them from my corner. But like in the situation like this where people want to become content creators, want to get what, like, their thoughts don't feel heard when they're stuck in the chat box, and they want to stick their face out there with them, when they want to get skin in the game,
Okay.
I think
so,
we should have training grounds for people learning the skills to do it, because
Okay.
that's the best thing we can do right now.
So I would much rather not be a content creator. I would much rather see content from people who are smarter and more talented than I am, saying smarter things. And when I do find that, I certainly spend hours and hours and hours listening to PVK, and I could spend even more hours listening to PVK. And I would rather spend time listening to PVK than like having these streams. The problem is most of what is said is garbage and stupidity and I'm just tired of all the stupidity. I can't stand it. So I don't want.
Speaking of stupidity you can't stand, Chad, I saw you had your hand raised there.
Yeah, I was just claiming my thing.
No, you're definitely. You definitely don't speak.
Listen, we have
stupidity.
Rando's United channel. That channel is for everybody to send their stuff to.
Yeah, I don't know what. I mean, I don't know what Jeff is precisely doing with it.
It's
Then why don't you have Jeff on your show and ask him what precisely are you doing with the Randos United channel, Jeff?
Yeah, I talked to Jeff. It's easy. You make your video. If you want your video up, you send it to randosunited@gmail.com.
In fact,
I
right
am
now we exist.
DMing Jeff as we speak. hey, Jeff, Chad and Grim hate you. They want you to come on my channel and explain why you are destroying Randos United.
Anyways,
Does that sound good?
I
that's
love it.
Okay. I just sent
Sincerely,
it.
the boys. Okay, now we live in this
Sincerely.
world where, like, if there is a person in the
The
YouTube
boys.
audience right now, they can press the clip button, and then we
Mhm.
can send that 1 minute segment of you doing that directly to Jeff, and he doesn't have to watch any of the rest of this. Thanks to the powers we've been granted by our platform.
Can
But
you
listen,
clip my
others,
channel?
I
I didn't know
bet
if
you
you
can.
can.
Let's
But
find
my
out.
channel's too small, isn't it?
no.
That's what she said. But no, there's a clip button
Oh,
for your
okay.
channel.
It looks like scissors.
It
Yeah,
looks
well, I've
looks
never seen it on my
like
clip channel, on my
scissors.
channel.
Share clip. Copy link. Give it to Jacob. And win.
I'm going to go put a Dr. Pepper in the freezer.
All right.
That is not.
Also what she said.
Yeah, exactly.
So is this the clip you want me to send to Jeff? Why don't you send it to Jeff?
I don't know what clip it is. I didn't listen to it. I just proved to you they can be made even from your channel, even from what's airing to the public right now.
Yeah.
I see.
And to get
Rosen says you can clip it.
Jacob.
If a problem comes along, you can clip it.
I need
Catch
to get
them doing
some water.
wrong.
You guys entertain yourself. I'm gonna go get some water.
Awkward. Hey, how is that Dr. Pepper?
It's not ready yet.
All right, what's your area of specialties? What type of wizard are you, pal?
16th century English poetry.
Is there any written on your heart you can share with us now?
Written on my heart, as in like memorized.
Yeah.
Something. Well, that's the thing. It's like when I'm
Not even a single verse.
Every scrap of poetry I've memorized just wants to evaporate.
So the true one can come bursting forth in this moment now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I used to have a fair bit of Paradise Lost memorized, but it's kind of atrophied over the years.
Do you have a segment?
Yeah,
Any of it?
Of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree whose taste brought death into the world and all our woe. Sing, O heavenly muse, that on the secret tops of Oreb and of Sinai didst inspire the shepherd who first taught the chosen seed. And I think what happens is after a certain point, I'll remember halves of lines here and there, but my brain will reconstruct them in the wrong order. And sometimes I'll misremember a quote, but then kind of like my version more.
I call that interference by the serendipity engine.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like to get into a different area. It's kind of like Chad could probably verify this. It's kind of like songwriting. There's a certain route you can go where you start with like imitation or there's a reason that the early Beatles records are so full of covers, the early Rolling Stones records. I mean, part of the reason is like everybody was doing that. But
and part is because it was designed by the Central Intelligence Agency to have a wield on their culture.
Of course, yeah, exactly. It's
yeah, you start with the form, basically, pattern, shapes.
Yeah, that's so. I read Bob Dylan's Chronicles, and he talks about the folk scene, and everything's about imitation, everything's about playing other people's songs. But at least he claims, like every time Bob Dylan talks about himself, he's talking about a version of himself, basically. But
I have no idea what that's like.
Yeah, well, it's but then you start tweaking things here and there. You change a word here, you change a word there, then you change the perspective of a song, and then you're singing it from the other end of things, right? And suddenly it's like there's that weird threshold where you don't know where you're just changing up a song or where you've actually created something new.
Derivative works. You're making derivative works when you put your own spin or you riff on what's already been made. It's my
Yeah.
claim.
Well, I mean, how do you make something that's not derivative at all, though? You know?
It's the art and the different things you're deriving from, the interplay. That's the
Yeah.
beautiful. Like, look, you can take a life like this, and then a feeling like this, and then this event, and squeeze this out of that fella.
Hmm.
And that's, it's all derivative, but what you choose to derive from what you're given. The lemonade you make out of Federucci's lemon juice.
Hmm.
Why don't you, could you do an episode of Post Platonic? Could you dedicate a selection of songs to some person and then tell a story and then introduce 4 or 5 songs? Are you capable, Professor Powell?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I've actually never seen Post Platonic.
Nobody has. It's a radio show he does
Oh.
on Spotify.
Gotcha.
But that's the format. You pick
Yeah.
a dude, dedicate it to, tell a story, and then introduce 5 songs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big music guy, you know.
It's interesting to like give the people that always look at people through this lens of them doing that structure, them playing to that format. Like, this is what that guy looks like doing it. This is what so.
Mm-hmm.
And it, I don't know. He's trying to make a place for other people to bubble up and express themselves. I'm on board with it for that reason.
Yeah. Like musically, I'm in a weird place right now because I can be kind of an obsessive person, so I will just get all into something, and maybe for months at a time. You know, then I kind of burn through it. Then I'm on to the next thing. But it's like I don't ever completely move on. It's like I've internalized it, you know. So something like that to be really interesting, I'd probably have to like do the archaeology and dig through all the old phases, you know.
You could dig through 5 or 6 Dylan and call it a show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, check it. I mean, this is weird little.
Here, talk to my Semite for more information about your appearance on Post Platonic, the Spotify show.
Well, here's a weird little confessional moment, right? Here's a fraction of my record collection that
wow.
didn't get unpacked after the last move. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys have been talking about Post Platonic.
Yeah, I got him on the hook. Take it home, Jacob.
Well, he
Everybody
mentioned it.
have a good night.
Yeah.
You too can be on the show.
Bye, Grim.
Yeah, it's a cool show, man. You should if you get an opportunity, just go listen to it, because I didn't understand at first what was going on. Because I have no idea even to this day what the phrase post Platonic even means.
Nobody does. That's part of the problem, and that's part of why I created the show.
Okay.
Are you riffing on Neoplatonic and trying to like flip it around?
So John Vervaeke mentioned the need for a post-nominalist Neoplatonism, and I decided to shorten that to post-Platonic and run it out there as the name of whatever it is we're doing here, and then we'll figure out what it is we're doing here in a post-Platonic manner by having discussions.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Okay.
I'll give you an example. Let's say if I were to do an episode of Post Platonic, and the saint I pick, that I dedicate the show to would be Jacob, right? So then, what I would do, I have like an intro. He's got an intro written up. You say the intro, and then what I would do is I would probably tell the story of Jethro, right in the beginning. And then I would follow that up with maybe like, I don't know. I'm a traveling man or something. Or I've been everywhere, man, by Johnny Cash, or whoever did that song, right? Because like I'm kind of describing Jacob through the icon in my mind of what Jacob is.
His recent voyages, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then I might, like, after that, I might find, I don't know.
So the idea was
Testament or something like that. I might grab a little piece out of that and read that, and then or like whatever, something about.
It could be poems, it could be stories, it could be fair use, any, like, you know. So in one of the episodes, I read a chapter out of Billy Budd.
Okay.
I've used a lot of Bible quotes. I've used Edgar Allan Poe poems. I've used, you know, you can use anything that's, well, the problem with poetry is it's a complete work by itself. So you can't call that fair use. So poems, you have to make sure they're out of copyright.
Yeah.
Or that you're taking a segment of it, you're not using the entire poem. The Bible translations, you have to either use an old translation or translate it yourself or whatever, right? But other than that, like, most things are fair use, and we can use any song on Spotify. The only thing I've been doing is no repeating any song that's been used already. So somebody tried that. I won't say who. It wasn't Chad. It was Michael. But so I made him do a cover, right? And like every song has so many covers. Like if you cannot find out of Spotify's whole thing a song we haven't used yet, we've only had 9 episodes so far, and we missed this week's episode because nobody made one. But yeah, you can use any song, and there's the intro, there's the outro, and there's I tell people to plug the search engine that Ryan made, which is this-little-corner.com, which it is a search engine of transcripts of channels in this little corner. And yeah, this has been actually the hardest part, certainly for me. The first segment, I've made it should be an allegory, right? So either a parable or a story or something out of the Bible, right? Like it should be a story, right? Which is really difficult to find a good one that's short, that you can tell, right? But I think it actually embodies. So I had several chats with people before I came up with the podcast about what post-Platonic means. And one of the things people talked about a lot was embodiment. And that's why I did the dedicating it to a saint. And the title is the name of someone. Like if you go on Spotify and you look, you'll see every episode there's a name and somebody that it's dedicated to.
And that whoever it's dedicated to is the so-called saint.
Well, I had a question about that.
They're not true saints.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you define saint in your terms? Because I know.
Yes. So, my definition of saint is somebody who was in a situation that you hope you would act in a similar manner as they did.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. I have some candidates in mind.
Yeah, so we've done. I've done Elon Musk so far. I've done Joe Rogan. I've done Felix Schellberg, PewDiePie. I did. Chad did Bill W., who was one of the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Okay.
I did Michael Severitis. Which I kind of felt I had to. And Servetus. I keep on forgetting how to say his name, even though. And Michael Sartori actually did the Apostle Paul. So
Yeah, I was gonna jokingly offer that. option.
that's what Michael did. Like, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to allow it, even though I basically I don't want like actual saints, but it was like, yeah, Paul. I mean, obviously, I'm actually I would be interested in somebody doing John Calvin.
Nah, don't look at me. Somebody asked earlier. I don't know if either of you were on the stream. I popped into the other chat room or whatever, and somebody asked, hey, who here hangs around the Protestantism channel a lot? And I pop in and out of there, but sometimes I don't know if I'm Protestant enough for the Protestants. You know what I mean? Like I'm not reformed in that sense. I mean, I don't know how heavily evangelical I would say I am. I'm kind of what I've come to realize is basically I'm a mainline Protestant. It's like in my DNA. There are other things I attach to sometimes, but I am in this weird place where I'm gonna be kind of like in between the liturgical traditions and the more evangelical traditions, and I'm kind of drawing from each, and it means that like both sides look at me with suspicion. So I mean, whatever.
T for Tech joined us, even though he's not turning on his camera like a putz.
I don't have a camera, Mr. Putz.
Well, so yeah, for me being a denomination of one, like the Abrahamic channel was almost kind of sort of like, here, Jacob, have a channel.
I was actually going to ask you a question a while back, and I never got around to it. And I was like, that was where I was going to do it. I was like, that's like, Jacob Q&A channel. Yeah.
I have no idea who this Nico Bellic guy is.
Let him in.
What is 100 plus 1?
So I had a weird idea for a saint, actually.
Okay.
It's actually an abstract, and it's the adversary. That's going to be my next episode.
You can do an episode for that, but I would want you to dedicate it to a human being.
Nope.
Nope.
The adversary in what sense?
No,
right? Biblically, you're going to kind of a weird place there.
Well, because it is actually post-Platonic, because it's whoever it is for you.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I want to do it.
Okay. I mean, one of the things I deliberately have tried to give as little structure as necessary, but you have to give things a structure for it to actually be stuff. Nope,
quick, I
he's
see
already acting it out. I have no idea who this Ardlian guy is.
I see Jacob and I see Chad, but I don't recognize his third face. Hi, I'm T.
How's it going?
Hi, T.
This is Professor Pal.
Yeah.
Ow.
Palamabra, Pala.
Wait, Paloma Brown?
That's me.
Hey, cool. Welcome. I'm working on my ALR, yeah.
The former Snailcat avatar. I changed it to Sir Walter Raleigh. Just give me a little more dignity. I don't know.
Dignity. Good job.
Yeah, I've been sticking with the Hail Lobster thing. I like it.
What was your previous avatar? Because I have a vague.
It was a
like
menorah. It was the menorah from the Ark of Titus.
Okay.
Yeah. That's not the Ark of Titus.
No, that's my icon on my thingy.
The
Very good.
the Ark of Titus.
Arch of Titus. Sorry.
Arch of Titus. Okay, never mind.
Arch of Titus.
Different story. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It was the victory arch that they made in Rome when they destroyed Jerusalem in the
Oh,
year
wow.
70.
Okay.
It's the oldest representation we have of the menorah from the temple.
'Cause I
Although,
thought, yeah, when you said Ark of Titus, I thought it was going to be something actually from the temple during that period.
no, so the arch, was the triumphal arch that the Romans built, and it's still there in Rome.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and although Jewish tradition is, many people would argue that menorah is not the actual menorah and whatever, but like, yeah, I picked that.
Mhm.
So we were going to discuss that meetup in Chicago. I was a little disappointed because everybody who was there was going to be there. In that, when Paul did an event, like the people flew in, like Antonio flew in all the way from Washington, and people flew in from Texas, and I had assumed that the topics of the talks were so heavily Christian because they were expecting local Christians to show up, and like, we didn't get local Christians, and in fact I think we may have driven away like the actual audience we have from the Petersonian things with how Christian the topics were. Comments, questions?
Well, I don't know. I thought I don't know. I thought the Parker's topic to me didn't seem particularly Christian. I mean, of course, they were talking. They did mention Christianity, and it was something that was often circling around. But I thought it was more to do with public personalities and how one carries themselves in the public eye. I thought that's what that was primarily about. The second.
Well, the main event was titled "The Future of Christian Apologetics."
The main event, right? Yeah.
And I expected at least members of that CRC to show up, right? Because we were in a Christian Reformed church. I was like, well, at least like some people from the church might show up, but like it was just a PVK crowd.
Well, the only way you're going to get that to happen is if somebody's in that church every week announcing it, which I doubt was happening.
People just sort of need to accept the Christianization. A lot of people don't accept that. I know there's a bridge to the salt water, but like we're all Christianized, accept it.
Kind of, sort of, not really.
People in the world are not wanting to accept that when it's very obvious to me anyway.
The server, I mean, there are definitely people on the server who are Jewish. There are definitely people, hey, Antonio showed up. There's Antonio, who's a weirdo.
What?
Hello, Antonio. I'm T.
How's it going?
There are people who consider themselves atheists, even though I don't believe there is such a thing as an atheist. But and yeah, I can't imagine somebody who considers themselves an atheist going to a talk of what is the future of Christian apologetics.
Well, that's why we have Jordan Peterson and other things. John Vervaeke.
Yeah, and that's why
religion,
like,
that's not a religion, we promise.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's silly.
Totally not a religion. Come ye old little people who don't like religion.
I would say if you want to have more of a say in the topics, two things have to happen. Either you create the event yourself, or you request to be on a committee that's hosting the event, and then you have a say there. I thought the second conversation that had happened with Aaron's, I never even heard of that dude. I was particularly bored with it because it was, to me, it was just too much into the weeds of politics, which is so boring. It's such a played out.
Luke said something very similar. I think other people did as well. I actually thought it was the more exciting one.
Are we talking about the bald guy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no,
So
that one was more engaging.
Antonio actually came to Chicago. So
Yeah, we met, correct?
Yeah. We shook hands. Shame it didn't follow up with more conversation, but
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but I thought the dinner was my favorite part. That was great.
it was.
Beyond that, to be quite honest, the best part was, in a strange way, was my wife and I went to that Billy Graham Museum in Wheaton, and that was phenomenal.
Yeah, you really had an experience there.
Yeah, it was really strange, man. Because I didn't know who Billy Graham is. I mean, I know the name, but I had this caricature in my mind, so I thought it was I don't know, some strange televangelist or something. And we just went because we were on a date too, because it was for my birthday. So
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah. So we went
Birthday, Chad.
Yeah, thank you. We decided to go and check out a couple places, and it was raining a lot, but so we went to that place, and I was just floored, man. I thought it was an incredible experience. I thought, with all the crap that we talked about the West, it's yeah, but the West made Billy Graham, dude. What he did was phenomenal. I was amazed by it. And then we went to the C.S. Lewis Library thing too. That was pretty cool. But I don't know. For me, the most impactful thing was going to that Billy Graham thing. But it was nice to meet Paul and shake his hand and encourage him and tell him thank you and hope he keeps up the good work and stuff like that. It was really nice to see him. I probably talked to him a matter of 10 minutes the whole time that we were there.
Tell him how tall he was.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Still blows my mind.
But it's partly because it's I don't want to fanboy on Paul, and I could easily do that, and then nobody's going to talk to him. So I've already talked to him on these videos and stuff so much. Whatever, man. It was just so nice to be able to tell him thank you and give him a hug and shake his hand, and then I'm feeling fairly confident that there will be opportunities in the future to spend more quality time with him. But yeah, it was very cool. Very, very cool first meetup for me.
For me, the discussions we had in between the panels and stuff, that I thought was just great.
Yes. Yeah.
Same. You were our resident Jew.
Yeah, I mean, so many cool conversations.
Yeah.
It'll be cool to see what happens next year.
Yeah, so I mean, when we did the fishing trip last year, everybody definitely said we'll make sure that it happens next year. And this kind of sort of was like the fishing trip again, but we didn't actually do the fishing trip this year.
Yeah, but you didn't do the fishing trip last year either.
We did not actually fish on the fishing trip last year, but we did do the fishing trip.
Same difference.
We got together and there were fish in water near us.
Good enough.
That counts, right?
I thought the Chicago trip was really good. I had a lot of good conversations with people there. That group of young other men. It was Andrew, Rosen, and I think it was John. I think it was John. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Rosen was actually there in real life.
Yeah.
Rosen, you should send me a DM and I can send you a thing and you can come on if you're still on. He was on here a little bit. Yeah, I mean, actually meeting people, that's. And there were females there. You brought one with you, Antonio.
I did. I didn't feel right if she didn't come, honestly.
Well, what did she think?
Oh, she thought it was very amusing. She was concerned she's going to be out of place, and I had told her, no, you wouldn't be.
She wasn't out of place. She was just really silent. She didn't say much. At least
She
yeah.
did more people watching than conversation engaging for sure. So
Yeah.
Well, that was part of what we were talking about earlier. Was I think we need to have space for lurkers.
Well, my wife had the same kind of rebuttal.
Reaction?
Yeah, you go ahead. I'm not really interested. I mean, it's like I'm gonna feel a little awkward. They're your friends. I think there's something.
yeah,
There's really something to respect about that as we move forward. I mean, I like that this is. There's a place that I can go that my wife encourages me to be a part of it, and that's my thing, and she, you go do that, you need some of that. And so I think that those kinds of things should be embraced. I think like she thought it was really great to meet Paul, and she liked the conversation on Wednesday night with the apologetics conversation. And I don't think we should. I think, again, Jacob, the basic thing here is keep it simple. Like, the more we can keep it simple, the better it flies.
keep it stupid simple. Kiss.
Yeah. Right? And it
Well,
really starts to take shape of its own. The more
so Rosen, I sent you a link if you want to join the conversation. I agree with you, and I do want to keep things simple,
Yeah.
but I think you still need, you need to throw that crystal into the super saturated, that seed crystal for things to grow around.
Yeah, it's there. It's here. It's called encouragement. It's called, if you want to up the game and contribute to the larger conversation, jump right in. And I think that's the unifying thing that we have. The unifying thing that we have is this odd individual thing that we have. It's like this desire to share in better conversations, the desire to get to know some people. I think that's a great principle. Again,
Chad, you're roboting just a little.
I am.
I heard you fine.
Sounds
Yeah,
good to me.
You're roboting.
Yeah, you're roboting.
I'm roboting.
But okay, I don't want it to just be individual. I don't want it just to be the internet. I want it to be more of a community, and I think that requires actual ties, and like I keep on saying, like the post-Platonic thing. Oh, by the way, another thing I was thinking about, and I wanted Antonio's ideas about this. I'm thinking of starting a series that I'm going to call Post-Platonic Propositions, which is, as opposed to the podcast, which is trying not to be propositional, actually trying to lay out propositional foundations that I think are just so basic that hopefully everybody in our community can latch on to.
100% support that. Is because the normal podcast, it's kind of just like an exploration, isn't it?
Yeah. And like I'm trying to keep it simple. I'm trying to not like push things too much, because like when you get propositional, there's no way that I can. So my first, I was considering for the first episode, I was gonna call it "All Models Are Wrong, Some Are Useful," and to just talk about that, subjective, objective, postmodernist, the whole is ought like thing of models, because I think that's just so fundamental to everything we talk about. But even trying to keep it that way, like when I speak about it from a Jewish frame, and I don't want it all to be like my frame. I want, and that's what I tried to do with the podcast, was leave the frame loose. I wanted it to be strict enough so that people have guidance. Because when you don't give people, like if you tell them, oh, you can say anything you want, that actually makes it a lot harder than giving them the intro and giving them the outro and like saying, I want this, and like allowing them to fill that out. I think I would have had less buy-in. I mean, Chad can, if I had given no direction whatsoever. What do you think, Chad? Would you be more likely to do it if I didn't have an outro and an intro and a thing, or less likely?
Oh no, I think. What is the question?
The
Yes, to
question
structure.
is, if my Post-Platonic podcast didn't have a structure with an intro and an outro and like some direction what to do you think you were more likely to do an episode or less likely to do an episode?
Oh, I'm the wrong guy to ask. I was on one either way, but I like the format because like it helped me not have to, like when I'm doing my silly news shows, which I don't do much anymore. Like I don't. It's tough sometimes to try and figure out what the script is going to be. And so then I got to spend a lot of time. So it is nice that there's a general structure. And then from there I can just start building, you know what I mean? And, but yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing with the seed crystal I keep on talking about. Like you create a template, and it's a lot easier for people to participate when there is a template for them to actually attach to and meet and get involved with.
Tons of mosquitoes out there. Holy nuts.
Well, oh, you know what I noticed going through Wisconsin?
Puppy.
Aw. That is a very cute puppy.
Here's another.
Oh, there's
Aw.
another one.
He's a good boy.
He was my avatar very briefly.
Say hi, parents. Good boy.
Is he a Labradoodle?
That's my Labradoodle. Go potty. Good boy.
So have I told you guys why they created Labradoodles?
Because they're awesome.
No.
Okay, so I actually have had a special assistance dog, so I know this. They wanted to make a special assistance dog that was hypoallergenic like poodles are, because poodles shed less than other dogs. There was one problem though. poodles are way too smart to be special assistance dogs because it's really boring work. So they had to cross it with a Labrador to dumb it down.
Oh wow.
And that's actually why Happy can't be a special assistance dog. She's too alert. She's too smart. She would get she like pays too much attention to other things. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's Ferris, the golden doodle.
Oh, golden doodles. I would like to have a golden. You have 2 dogs or 1 dog?
That's one dog.
Okay. So is it a Labradoodle or a golden doodle?
He's a golden.
Oh.
His name is Ferris. He's 8 months old. And as of today, he's 75 pounds. Ferris, you knucklehead. What's up, buddy? Hi.
He's like, I'm thirsty. Leave me alone.
Good boy.
So, do you make him watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
No, it's Ferris with 1 R,
Oh.
which means
Yeah.
in
These
wild.
are hypoallergenic, but they shed like crazy. Chihuahuas.
Oh,
I can't pick him up without just being covered with little blonde hairs.
Yeah, my girlfriend has a pug chihuahua mix, completely black.
Never seen one of those.
It's the cutest ugly thing I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of joking. I'm kind of not. A dog under 25 pounds, you really should just euthanize.
what?
It's a hot take.
Really?
I like big dogs, and I
That's
cannot
spicy
lie.
color.
All right, let's do this.
What are we doing? We lost Chad. I think he was trying to do something, and it failed completely. Okay, what do you guys want to talk about?
You said you had a calling?
Ooh, yes. I don't know if I'm completely ready to talk about this or not. Is Chad back? Chad is back.
Oh yeah, he should be back for that.
There's
Yeah.
Chad.
That was
Right there in my AI table.
camera, back camera. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so I kind of did like so I got this website now. It's anonlyson.com. And I'm gonna try to write a book again, and hopefully I will not fail miserably like I have every single other time I've tried. And I'm gonna call it either An Only Son or Jesus Was an Only Son. And part of it was that it was the website was available, and in addition to spelling an only son, it also spells anonly son. And do you know what anons are on 4chan?
Oh, yeah, Anon.
Yeah, anonly son.
I was
So
distracted
T
by
gets it.
Chad's video.
Yes,
Um,
I've heard of the canon and all.
Yeah, so like for me it was like, okay, this seems like the right way to go forward. I also had, like, in Salt Lake City, I also had this idea, like, you know the joke I tell all the time, why did God create Mormons?
Oh yeah, I
So
love that joke.
so Christians know how Jews feel. And when I was in Salt Lake City, I was convinced of the truth of that I really do think God did create Mormonism in order to help Christians move towards Judaism. So that's what I'm calling my calling that I think I had, a vocation.
You're calling.
That is my calling as I see it, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You're gonna write a book.
I'm going to try. I have tried before. We'll see if it actually happens. But yeah, I want to actually describe like the stuff that I've been thinking about, and that's why I'm gonna be having a bunch of conversations. So the only thing I really decided is I need to have a lot more conversations and to reach out to a bunch of people and talk to people and have dialogue and see where things go and what kind of feedback people give me, because I think that's the way forward, is just talking to people. So that's the big thing I decided, is I need to talk to more people and reach out to more people and have more discussions on my channel. So I'm gonna do more just chatting streams. I've asked, like, I've already emailed and DM'd several people to ask them to come on the channel for discussions. I also decided I'm going to focus on Psalm 22 and helping people learn the Hebrew and recite the Hebrew, because I think we need to sing more. Yeah, so T, you can help me with that one. Because
Hey, tell me again what I forget the one that I'm supposed to remember. Is it the greeting or the salutation? Because I'm trying to learn it right.
What do you mean?
I don't remember how to say it, so let's just say, how do you say hello in Hebrew?
Usually just say shalom.
Right, shalom. And how do you say goodbye in Hebrew? Also
Oh,
shalom.
lehitraot.
Lahitraot, that's what I'm supposed to remember. Okay.
Yeah, so that means until we see each other again.
Lahitraot. Cool. I just, like, every time I'm in conversation with you and or other people, I'll probably try to remember to ask you that. So one of these times I'll remember Lahitraot, and then tweet. So it's the salutation. It's the goodbye.
But what I was thinking is, like, we should well, I actually would like to, like, have in-person choirs. Like, I don't think you can really do an internet choir, but I think singing together is good and important. What do you guys think?
Participate in community.
Excuse me. I'm technically part of the church choir, but
Chad, are you trying to gather attention?
my church is an hour away, so I can't always make it to Wednesday night practices. I've kind of I don't know, faded out, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, it's something it's something valuable, you know.
I think when you sing together or when you have communal dance, right? There's again, I keep on talking about, like, trying to bring people together and stay connected in a, like, real bonds, you know? Like Vervaeke keeps on talking about religio, right? Bonding people together. And so, yeah, that's mostly what I was thinking about. Like, I was trying to cogitate and chew on for the past 3 weeks.
Groovy. Well, hey guys, I gotta get rolling.
Say hi to your wife and give Ferris some
Chad.
scratches for me.
All right. Thank you, Jacob. Good to see you guys.
Nice seeing you, Chad.
Have a good evening.
Too.
So, Pal, tell us about yourself.
Not sure where to go with that. I'm a college English teacher. I grew up, if we're talking about religious backgrounds, I am, like I said earlier, I kind of describe myself as mainline Protestant, but still people hear that and they assume, oh, mainline Protestant, these are the people with, you know, lady priest in rainbow vestments, whatever. I mean, I'm still a traditionalist in some significant ways, but I know my tradition and I'm trying to make the best of it. Even though I will say, my own church background puts me in the middle of some of these tensions, some of the kind of stuff that PVK has been talking about lately. The stuff they're dealing with at the synod. So I was baptized as an Episcopalian. So, I mean, and I kind of struggle with that, lean more that way when I was in college. Then I kind of fell back on the other half of things, which my family also has roots in the Methodist Church. And so that was
I hear a bit of a Southern twang?
You do. I am, I live in Georgia. So
Okay.
Rural part of Georgia. So I'm not up in the Atlanta area or anything. But that's the thing. I have I don't know, judge for yourself, right? But I don't have the thickest accent. It's weird because I will have some people around here tell me I don't have one, which I think is a joke. But then, when I meet people from elsewhere, and they'll, of course, notice it. But it's just one of those weird things, right? It's just sometimes I feel like I am enough of a Southerner that it's always going to be with me, but I don't always feel like I belong. I don't know. It's a weird heritage. I've talked about that before too. But as far as the church backgrounds and everything, though, so Methodism was kind of my fallback position because just honestly, the Episcopal Church had gotten too weird. That's a topic in and of itself. But then it's the Methodist Church kind of was going the same way. They were just a decade behind or something. And but we're a little further down that road, I think, than the CRC people seem to be. We're already fracturing in a significant way that it doesn't sound like they are yet.
CRC, I mean, I don't think most people really understood what happened.
Yeah.
At the Synod.
I probably don't either. Yeah.
So they basically said, if you do not believe that homosexual sex is a sin, you are not welcome in the CRC.
Mm-hmm.
And so anybody who publicly
communism.
Anybody who publicly denies that homosexual sex is a sin is subject to church discipline, meaning they cannot be a minister, they cannot be a delegate, they cannot be an elder, right? Simply saying that is now puts you outside of the confessions. And so in the CRC, everybody, if you want to be a professor at Calvin or you want to be an elder at your church, they make you sign a covenant of office bearers saying you believe in what they call the three forms of unity. And the Heidelberg Catechism is one of them. And the Synod officially said, Heidelberg Catechism says that homosexual sex is a sin. And so really, if you're being honest and you don't believe it's a sin, you shouldn't sign a covenant of office bearers. So I was trying to see what people were saying online, and on this Facebook group, on the Facebook page of this project, that their whole goal was to get the CRC to be affirming, right? Somebody is like, can somebody just explain to me in for dummies terms what's going on? And a couple of people answered, and none of their answers said this. So I actually they said you're not welcome, because he was thinking that maybe Synod next year could undo this. And it's no, you don't understand. If you state you disagree with this, you're not invited to Synod anymore. Right? And that's why I said on one of Paul's videos, that I think people are going to start publicly asking people, like with a phone in their hand and video going, hey, is gay sex a sin? And if you don't say yes, they're going to be like, you need to be under church discipline.
Well, okay. So, like I said, I feel like we're undergoing similar tensions, except we're a little further down the road, and that's because we were in a similar place a few years back, and there was a similar ruling, and our
Okay.
hierarchy kind of worked against us. So basically, the decision, if I remember or if my information is correct, the decision was that, of course, the doctrinal statements and everything are collected in what's called the Book of Discipline. That's what a lot of this really centers around. Even though I've made the point that like almost nobody reads the Book of Discipline, and I've tried to get people in my church to actually do it, and I just get the glassy-eyed stare. It's not getting to that one, but so basically, the decision was made that the Book of Discipline is going to stay as it was, which does have that kind of language, right? That basically, yeah, homosexual acts or whatever, would still be deemed sin. And it's basically it's not singled out exclusively. It's in a list of
They did that too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically heterosexual acts outside of marriage are a sin, right? So and it comes down to this statement that marriage is between a man and a woman. The church basically kept that in the statements of faith, or in the doctrinal statements. And what happened is they said, okay, now they told the bishops of these progressive districts that they would have to discipline anybody, any of the priests who were blessing homosexual unions, things like this, right? And of course, there were disciplinary measures in place for the bishops who had ordained, out and practicing homosexual clergy. And then the progressive bishop said no. And then, basically, they just dug their heels in. And it turns out there wasn't much that could be done about it. And so things are kind of flipping around, where it was set up where they were trying to give the progressive districts a diplomatic way to exit. But they dug their heels in. They didn't budge. And then now it's actually the traditionalists that are going to be the splinter group. It just kind of blows my mind. They kind of waited things out, but I don't know. This is a thing that's been drawn out for years. And in fact, it's not, it could still go either way. This thing hasn't been concluded, and it's just kind of an excruciating process. And I probably shouldn't have, you asked me to talk about myself. Probably shouldn't have taken it down that route, but
No,
that's
it was very interesting.
Explaining that's my background. And that's kind of why I'm in a weird place in terms of church membership, because I mean, both the Episcopal Church and the Methodist Church are a deep part of my faith background. And right now, I mean, I don't know if I can just kind of grit my teeth and go in an Episcopal Church, just, for the sake of the liturgy and a more, I would say, sacramental or sacrament-oriented type of service, which there's something.
So no Catholic Church for you? No
Well,
way?
That's
or Eastern Orthodox?
Well, maybe not as long as I work at.
You're at a Christian college?
Yep.
Okay.
Very, very Protestant Christian college, and so
I see.
Yeah, that's the issue. So,
I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
If I could find the right liturgical Protestant denomination, I think I'd be on good ground.
How do they feel about the Eastern Orthodox? Because some Protestants kind of think that they are actually really Eastern Orthodox for the West.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a good question. That's probably a little more wiggle room. And in fact, I don't know that the Catholic thing would be a big deal. It's just, I don't know. Don't want to push my luck.
Yeah, especially you guys don't even have tenure, right?
No.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I was gonna ask you, how long have you been on Bridges of Meaning?
Oh, since I think I was describing this to somebody earlier. I think January 2021. It seems like longer.
Yeah, that's a year and a half. Uh, you don't get too involved in the. I mean, I don't recall having any huge theological debates with you.
Not so
No?
much. It's because I am kind of a little bit of an outlier in some
Okay.
ways. Well, um, I don't know. It's I'm not as interested in the debates actually. That's the issue. I'm more interested in practice. Like I got into some of the kind of discussions of uh, mysticism and certain prayer practices and everything. To me, it feels like there used to be more of that kind of stuff. I don't know. I'm not as into the polemics. It's just by nature, I think.
You're sounding more and more Eastern Orthodox to me.
Yeah, probably so. I mean, I have a book full of like I'll just say I've been fascinated by the Eastern Orthodox side of things for a while.
Okay,
In
so
fact,
you're
that's
ortho curious. Okay.
well, that's I definitely am. I mean, I've been to Russia. You know,
Oh,
I'm ortho curious and just curious about that part of the world anyway. You know, but
when did you go to Russia? That's interesting.
2007. I'll say here's the kind of Protestant I am, right? The kind that has a rosary on the wall over there.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. So, how did you find Paul Vanderklay?
Oh, through I think kind of the usual route. I mean, it's not all Jordan Peterson, but he was kind of part of the diet at that time. I was going through this kind of I don't know. It was around the time I was finishing up my dissertation, and I was wrestling with some big spiritual questions, and so I was watching Jordan Peterson. I was also watching a lot of a lot of Christian content online, and I can't remember if I found Pajot first or PVK first, but eventually migrated over to PVK and got really interested in his material. But it's funny, I was watching others around the same time, but I've kind of forgotten some of those, and PVK stuck around.
Okay, so Pajot, what do you think of Pajot?
I like him, but and I think so. One of my instincts when I first got into Pajot, like I said, I'm coming from this background of studying poetry. I'm recognizing a lot of these things that I've read from other sources, but I feel like a lot of what he says, a lot of that framing and everything, I feel like you can get more organically by going back to some of the older sources. I don't know. Like I started Language of Creation and I never got through it. All the little I don't know if you've read it, but it's got all these little icons or whatever. And I don't mean in the Eastern Orthodox sense. I mean little symbolic figures and everything. And it's a very strange sort of book. But I'll just say I like Pajot. I don't watch him regularly. So as far as the big names we usually talk about, the one I probably follow the most faithfully these days would be Burn Power. I'm kind of stuck.
I love Burn. Yeah. Have you seen his conversation?
What's that?
He came on my channel.
No, I don't think I saw that one. I saw the Grim Grizz conversation.
Okay.
But that's because it was on his channel. Yeah.
Yeah, I had Burn on my channel. It's been a while now.
And I saw the same conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a question. Okay. So feel free to tell me to butt out, but I thought this question came into my thing.
Sure.
Rural Georgia, somewhat conservative Christian thing. 16th century poetry English professor.
Yeah.
There seems to be a like, weren't you called a sissy by at least some of your friends?
Well, you know,
Like, what are you doing?
I mean, I come from like a big sports family too, you know, so I don't know. I've always been a little odd, I suppose. I've always felt like kind of like I was on the outside looking in.
Okay.
You know, I don't know why. I mean, it's like from the time I was a kid. I don't know. So I've always had interests that seemed a little odd, I think.
Okay.
You know? Now, if I don't know if it would be much better if I lived somewhere else. Maybe it would. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. But in other ways, I don't know. Like, I didn't feel 100% like I belonged in my graduate program either, right? And around the other graduate students. I mean,
Okay.
because you can. I mean, of course, that was a very progressive environment, you know. But also, I don't want to. I'm not the kind. I don't like to put on airs, really. Like, I don't like to. Really, like, I'm not the kind of person. I had a coworker who you know requested that I refer to him as doctor in an email. This is somebody who's like a colleague, you know, and that is like the opposite of what I would do. I just that kind of stuff. I'm not interested in that kind of self promotion, you know. I probably should have said that, but anyway.
No, I have heard this from many people.
Yeah.
And this is part of I don't know how much you know about my theories regarding secure cognition and malware from the Eric Weinstein stuff.
No, I don't.
Okay, so I believe that over the course of the past 100 years, lots of psychotechnologies have been developed to manipulate people. And these are advanced psychological techniques which are used to manipulate just basically all of us, right? And I think some of those psychological techniques are what I would call malware, which is ideas that are implanted in people in order to kind of you know, keep them in line. And so I think telling people, oh, you know, only pretentious people go around saying PhD and professor, what it does is it gets a lot of people who should be called PhD and professor to shut up. And then certain people are told, hey, why don't you have PhD at the end of your Twitter handle, right? And you'll notice, like, people really do, like, they have respect. I have a lot of respect for somebody who has a PhD. My friends, I have two friends who have PhDs who refuse to be called doctors, and I insist on introducing both of them as doctors because I know that there are all kinds of people out there, some of whom don't even have a PhD or have like doctors of education or worse, right? And they're using doctor to gain. And so you know what Vervaeke talks about distributed cognition? Well, I should describe it for people who are watching anyway. So we don't do all of our thinking ourselves. We do our thinking in groups with others, right? And that's distributed cognition, how we think in groups. And I think that's being hacked, right? And that's why we get so much stupidity, is because people are manipulating who gets called doctor and who doesn't, in order to make authorities out of people that they want to be authorities, and convince people who they don't want to stop going around calling themselves, doctor or whatever. And so, yeah, I do think that I do think that this is a bit of malware that goes around, which is generally suppresses people. Like, what I think should be is, if you have a PhD, at least have a rule that applies to everybody, right? Like, some people are like, you should only call yourself a doctor if you have an MD, right? But there are plenty of people with PhDs out there, and if they're professors, and even if they're just lecturers I know people who are lecturers at community colleges with master's degrees who go around calling themselves professor and introducing themselves as professor and kind of demanding being called professor. Whereas there are, I have also met people who with PhDs who are tenure track assistant professors at things, and they're like, well, I mean, I shouldn't go around calling myself a professor. I'm an assistant or associate professor, right? And it's like, this sort of not uniform use of rules is being used to distort our cognition. That's my little thing.
Well, there's a different culture about this kind of thing from school to school too. So at my previous university, well, I've had on the master's level and the PhD level, the university cultures were both different. So at one university, you called all your professors doctor so and so. At my university where I was in the PhD program, now this is also because we're on a higher level, but this is also, I mean, for the master students, it's the same. The professors there insisted on being called by their first names. Now, that's a different sort of thing. And that's not what I was talking about. I mean, I was talking about more like between colleagues, it's a little different. But
have you found that it's different between fields as well?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's part of the manipulation. I think the grievance studies types all go around calling themselves doctors and professors.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. Well, my dog's whining at me, and I was just getting a phone call that I think I need to check out. But
okay,
it's been good.
Bye.
It was good speaking to you. Talk to you later. Antonio, I want to have like a discussion with you, just like having a conversation.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that now without like, I want to do an actual conversation. So is there stuff you wanted to talk about that's not just like me interviewing you so that people will get to know you?
Yeah. You were mentioning about your calling. I don't think I've really found something like that, but you were talking about how difficult it is to write a book. And I agree, because I haven't tried writing a book, but I've been working on this essay for, I don't even think it's worthy of being called an essay, but for the past few weeks. And man, it's so difficult, because every time I write a line or two, I'm back to reading more and more about something that I didn't know about.
So what is this essay? What are you writing about?
So it was originally, and it's still mostly the same goal, but it's changed a bit. It was originally supposed to be addressing what I saw as the crux between the meaning crisis and the culture war. So what I had identified was I saw this kind of divide between believers and non-believers, or atheists and theists, and I wanted to kind of like close that up through a bridge, through a trip through epistemology and whatnot.
Okay.
But I realized that wasn't quite right, because there's a lot of people that I know personally who are spiritual or they believe in something more, but they have a lot more in common with atheists than, say, a Christian, um, or a Jew, I would say. Um, so I was trying to figure out what that was, and that's why I posted in your server not too long ago. What would you call this thing? Because no matter what type of theists or atheists, they had this whole thing in common where no one wants to violate this line that is called naturalism, like, or you could even say methodological naturalism. So there's a lot of people I know, like my friend, for example, he thinks there's something more. He's even up to the idea of God, but he's not ready to claim that the miraculous happens, and he doesn't want to, be incumbent to show proof or evidence for that or anything like that. It's like almost keep it in line to stay sane, basically. And so then I was like, okay, I want to make a bridge between that, I guess. But then what is that exactly? Because I couldn't even find a good label for it. And the rabbit hole just kind of getting deeper and deeper. And I think I found some interesting things about history that I didn't even know about. I don't know if you know much about a guy named Francis Bacon, but now he's like a big part of this
Heard of him.
essay.
Okay.
So, because I've always had this hunch that the Enlightenment didn't mow over Christendom. It was more like my suspicion was Christendom had planted the seeds for it being knocked down by something like the Enlightenment. And I kind of identified Kierkegaard as somebody who saw that. And I think it's too much to say he was trying to warn people about it, because if he was, it was through the form of his polemics. And, you could argue how effective that was. But that's kind of how I see Kierkegaard playing that role.
Well, apparently Trey here has done some research on Bacon. So
Yeah,
what can you
not
tell us
extensive
about
research,
Bacon?
But he was called the father of science. Recently, I told someone about that, and then I sort of had a hard time with that specific phrase, finding it being applied to Francis Bacon. But yeah, what was it called? When I was researching sort of about what is science in the first place, because some people try to get
Yeah.
prescriptions from science.
Yes.
I came up with Francis Bacon and possibly others. Obviously, there was like a lot of people over centuries, like working in the Enlightenment and whatnot, trying to like the main thing I think about it is like it being very good sort of bias or whatever, and so like superstitions. People, I guess, used to be very superstitious, and nowadays it's just like science everything, and it's like, no, we can't science everything. Come on now.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I definitely would like to hear more about what you think of Bacon. I've just been having fun with it because I tell my girlfriend about my thoughts, and I'm like, it all started with Bacon.
Yeah, the main thing in my mind when I researched it is that they quote unquote, the scientists or proto-scientists or whatever you want to call it, were trying to look through like the creation to the mind of God. That's the relevant thing to me. And I think that scientismists tried to just totally deny that. It's like, no, it was never about God. You get out with your religion. It's like, I'm not even talking about religion. I brought up God. That's not religion.
Yeah, and so a big point of my essay was going to address what I call the lie or the illusion of neutrality. So I think Kierkegaard was also covering this through either or the concept of either or. But I could be wrong. But the way I think of it is, it's like you either believe, let's just say God. You either believe God exists or not. There is no there's no not choosing, basically. And the way I like to describe this is,
I don't know, man.
so I like to point out the agnostic or even the atheist, where they say, no, don't label us as not believers in God. It's merely a lack of belief in God. And the thing is though, when they act out their lives, in practice, they're acting out as if there isn't a God.
Yeah,
and that's very much a disbelief in God.
I feel like that's what Jordan Peterson talks about, and what I sort of get into when we get into the context of that kind of conversation is like, what you act out is actually more sort of, let's say, we should see that word belief. That means more your actions than your words. I think the words are important too, but your actions, those are like the very relevant thing. Because like
Yes.
the thing that I always think about is, oh, you're atheist, right? Okay, so like nihilism and like just questioning if I should even live. But you're here talking to me. You're alive still. So I'm trying to use street epistemology or whatever I can to up people's awareness of their own belief system.
Hmm.
Because they're just like, I don't have a religion, a god, a this or that. And I'm like, okay, so let's use different words here. Faith, okay. Axioms, you have axioms. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
axioms. Yeah, okay. Remember
Yeah.
faith. No, no, no. They're like head
They,
explode.
they
God,
don't like
okay,
the
let's
word
use a
faith.
different
Yeah.
word. Priority. What? No, stop it. You stop doing your word magic. And then what was the other one? Religion. I don't think I really have a different word for that. It's just that I use the word religion different. They're like, no, that's not what I mean by religion. You stop that.
It's like atheists have their trigger words, right?
No, no.
No, I
And
have
the
a good.
Christians, you can't use the word magic, eh?
Yeah, I have a good friend who's a coworker of mine, and I have talked about my whole thoughts on this whole matter, and he doesn't like when I use the word faith, but he's okay with my definition. So then, I'm like, well, I can use a different word if you like, but functionally, this is faith, basically, as I've described it, because we can't
He
operate.
walks like a duck and talks like a duck.
Yeah, exactly. But basically, you can't operate your life solely on evidence or facts. You got to extend your trust and your into the gaps of places you don't know. Basically, it's kind of related to your project, Jacob.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway,
I've been trying to think about, because when they use the word evidence, there was like another one. I don't know if it's proof or whatever, but when they say evidence, they mean only scientific evidence. No other form of evidence exists at all. And I've been thinking about meaning as like a mental evidence, because the thing that I sort of focus on these days is like a trialism, body, mind, spirit. And so meaning being the mental one, and then I read Jordan Peterson's Maps of Meaning, and it had in a small part in there about a mismatch between desire and reality. And what I got from that was like maybe the transjective evidence part, right? One of your axioms is wrong. It doesn't tell you what axiom or what level of analysis, but something has happened unexpected. So that's kind of a form of evidence, and it's definitely not scientific. You can't like touch it. This is more the morality stuff, I think, is what it was trying to point to.
oh, so you read all of Maps of Meaning.
Yeah, it's a really long and dense book, so I actually find that God has pretty much placed me in such a position to like filter sort of these high abstract things to get it down to earth, and called me into community to like share the wealth or whatever. Don't put your light under a bushel and stuff. And so at first in my life, I was like, nope, fuck you, God. And then later, I'm like, all right, fine. Like Jonah, I guess. You spend some time in the belly of a whale, and you're like, all right, give up, please stop it. Let's see.
So you could host. You could do an episode of Post Platonic. That'll be your allegory or your story, opening story.
Yeah, what do you think of Post Platonic? Have you listened to it?
Are we talking to me? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Channel?
Yeah.
It's my podcast on Spotify.
Your podcast on Spotify? Nope, I definitely haven't checked that out. What's it called? Post Platonic something?
Post Platonic, yeah. You need a Spotify. Well, if you can
Oh, do I
only
need to,
listen
like,
to
log
it
into
on
Spotify
Spotify. And if you don't have a subscription, you only hear 30 seconds of the songs. So my recommendation to people who don't have a subscription is just pause it, go to YouTube and listen to the song there, and then come back and listen to the rest of the podcast. Because it's mostly songs.
I'm trying to retain what you're saying, and I don't think I am.
The podcast is mostly songs. Okay.
Oh, okay. Like Hebrew songs, or
no, just
Oh.
no. It's just any sort of song.
okay.
But if you don't have a Spotify subscription, it plays 30 seconds of the song. It doesn't play the full song.
Yeah.
So if you want to listen to the podcast with the songs, what you can do is you can pause it when it plays the song, and go to YouTube and listen to the full song, and then come back and listen to the rest.
So you spend the 30 seconds wisely. Nice.
So you actually hear the songs.
Okay.
Because I think the songs are a big part of it. Like I think we do not spend enough time on music in our little corner of the internet.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I have my third conversation starter nowadays. How important do you think singing is? And so I always tell people the cantillation marks on the Hebrew is my inspiration for that, but it just seems quite obvious in life itself, the human life, that I'm trying to figure out how to make these things last longer than a generation. Music seems like a big chunk of that, and then there's sort of the other side of it, the nerdy stuff. And so, like, some people are sort of not so exposed to the nerdy stuff, and some people are not so like exposed to the like celebrating, dancing, music kind of. Like, I feel like there are different aspects of life between those and then sort of the physical exercise stuff. I feel like this is some kind of trifecta, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I always wondered why God made it like so that I couldn't do the cantillations, because it's like I've wanted to, and I've tried it several times, and it's like goes in one ear, out the other. I have no capacity to learn
Well,
it.
you can do the gutturals.
Yeah, I mean that's easy. But as far as like singing it, like it's just beyond me. And I was kind of like, God, like, why?
All humans is questions. Why?
Yeah.
Why, God, why? We had some AOI sessions recently. I'm working on
Should
that.
really learn how to dance myself, honestly.
Dancing is definitely a thing. Ardlian, I don't know who Ardlian is. Ardlian says, is it invalid to have irreligious axioms?
Did you hear my axioms part?
So an axiom is, well, you cannot really operate without axioms at all. And the argument that apparently Jung made and that Jordan Peterson makes, and which I would agree, is that your choice of axioms is a theological act, right? So the idea that the world is in fact sensible, right? That the fact I try to understand things, it in fact will positively help me understand the world. That's just an axiom. Like, you can't prove that, right? It's not a
Possible.
it's not something you can prove to yourself. It's something,
Right.
if you don't believe it, right, then you kind of have to shut up. So I have this thing I call Jacob's razor, which is, if there's any belief, if, like, for example, the free choice and the free will and determinism debate, right? So if there is no free will, then there's no point to discussing whether or not there is free will. So just shut up. Like, that's not something to, like, if this is a belief, for example, if you have a belief that it's better that human beings all die out, right? It's like, okay, if you truly believe that, you would just kill yourself and we wouldn't have this discussion, right? So that's not an idea that's within the realm of actually having discussions, right?
Bunch of folly is what it is. Learn
It
the relevant
is, and it is an irrelevancy, and it's not worthy of discussion, I would say. And so for me, the idea of an irreligious axiom, right? It's like if you're talking about axioms in a completely detached from the world point of view, yeah, so I was actually thinking about this for my propositional post-Platonism series. You know, in math, you have Euclidean geometry, which is the assumption is that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. That's Euclidean geometry. And then there's non-Euclidean geometry, one of which says that the shortest line between 2 points is an arc on a great sphere. So what that means is any 2 points, the only way you can that all the points that we're talking about, right? They all exist on one big sphere, and the only way to travel between 2 points is an arc on that great sphere, right? Which in when you're talking about like physical reality, you're like, hold on here, why would you say such a thing? That sounds silly. But if you're trying to design navigation patterns for airplanes, guess what works really well? Non-Euclidean geometry of, the arc, the shortest distance is an arc, because guess what? When the like your whole plane is the Earth, which is your great sphere, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we have two different models, and one of them is useful. The non-Euclidean one is useful. The other one actually seems to represent real life. And the only reason to prefer one for the other is a religious act of a theological valuing of truth, right? Because you could say, hey, you know what? We live on the Earth, and it's a great sphere, and let's do all geometry in this non-Euclidean way. So what makes you choose one over the other? It is a religious act, I would say. T for Tech says, Jordan Peterson said in a recent video something like, in order to do science, we have to have a commitment to truth, and that is an act of faith. And yes, that was what I was trying to say in much more clear words.
Just thought I'd, give you a little. That's a succinct way of saying it, and the atheists seem to pretty much disagree with that. Hence the word axioms.
Okay, guys, in 3 minutes, in 2 minutes, it's going to be 8 p.m. here, and I'm going to turn into a pumpkin. I'm not really, but I do need to go home.
Yeah.
What do you guys want to talk
going
about
down,
for the
man.
next 110 seconds?
Jesus loves you.
I have a theory about the woke and their co-opting of the rainbow.
Communism.
Okay. What's
They're
your
just
theory?
They're setting it up for the Noahites to co-opt it from them.
Aha. Yeah, that's what I think about the Mormon Church. Okay. With that, I think I am going to call it a day and stop the
Hey, what's the name of the other guy again? Antonio?
Antonio, yes. He
Antonio, cool.
is
You're invited
on...
to Dale, are you? Bye.
Bye, T.
See ya.
And I will have Antonio on just to talk to him soon one day. Bye, everybody. Talk to you guys later.